The next day, Guan Yu wandered around the lakeside. When he felt hungry, he ate some sour and astringent wild fruits. It had been 3 days since he fell into the valley, and he thought that if he didn't, he'd find a way out in another 4 days. The deadly poison of broken bowel powder in his stomach would seizure, and even if he found a way out, it would be useless. That night, he woke up in the middle of the night and waited for the moon to set in the west. At the fourth watch, the moon shone through a hole in the cliff, casting the colorful sword shadow onto a small stone wall again. He saw that the sword shadow on the wall was slanting to the north, and the tip of the sword was pointing exactly at a large rock. Guan Yu had a thought, is there something special about this rock? He walked to the rock and pushed it with his hand. His palm touched the moss on the rock, which felt slippery, and the rock seemed to sway slightly. He pushed hard with both hands, and the swaying became more pronounced. The rock was as high as his chest, and it should weigh no less than 2,000 catties. It should not be movable, but when he felt under the rock, he found that the huge rock was placed on top of a smaller rock, and he didn't know whether it was natural or man-made. His heart skipped a beat. There is something strange here. He pushed the right side of the rock with both hands, and the rock swayed again, but it swung back after a moment. He heard the sound of vines and creepers breaking from under the rock. He knew that the large and small rocks were entangled with vines and grass. At that time, the moonlight gradually dimmed, and everything looked blurry. He thought, I can't see clearly tonight. I'll take a closer look when it gets light. So he lay down by the rock and took a short nap. When it got light, he got up and examined the surroundings of the big rock. He bent down and pulled away all the vines and creepers between the large and small rocks, and cleared the mud and sand. Then he pushed again, and the rock slowly turned, just like a door. When it turned halfway, a cave about 3 feet high was revealed behind the rock. Overjoyed, he didn't think about whether there was any danger in the cave. He bent down and walked into the cave. After taking more than 10 steps, there was no light in the cave. He stretched out his hands and tested the ground with each step. He felt that the ground was flat, as if he was walking on a stone road. He thought that the path in the cave must have been artificially repaired, and his joy increased. However, the path kept sloping downward, and it was getting lower and lower. Suddenly, he touched a cold, round object with his right hand. When he touched it, the object made a clear sound. He touched it again and found that it was a door ring. Since there was a door ring, there must be a door. He felt around with his hands and immediately found more than 10 door nails the size of a bowl. He was very excited. If someone lives inside this door, that would be very strange. He picked up the door ring and knocked on the door 3 times with a clear sound. After a while, no one answered inside. He knocked 3 more times, still no one answered, so he pushed the door. The door seemed to be made of copper and iron, and it was very heavy, but it was not locked from the inside. He pushed the door with his strength, and the door slowly opened. He loudly said, I am Guan Yu. I apologize for intruding into your residence. He waited for a while, but he didn't hear any sound from inside the door. So he stepped in. He opened his eyes wide, but he still couldn't see anything. He could only smell the musty smell, which seemed to indicate that the cave had been uninhabited for a long time. He continued to move forward, and suddenly, he bumped his forehead against something. Fortunately, he was walking slowly, so the collision was not very painful. He reached out and touched it, and found that it was another door in front of him. He exerted force on his hands and slowly pushed the door open. The light suddenly became bright. He immediately closed his eyes, his heart pounding. After a while, he slowly opened his eyes and saw that he was in a circular stone room. The light came from the left side, but it was hazy and not like daylight. He walked towards the light and suddenly saw a large shrimp swimming past the window. This surprised him greatly. As he took a few more steps, he saw a colorful carp swimming past the window. Upon closer inspection of the window, he realized it was a large piece of crystal embedded in the stone wall, about the size of a copper basin, through which the light was filtering in. Pressing his eyes against the crystal, he looked out and saw the greenish water constantly rippling, with fish and shrimp swimming back and forth. As far as the eye could see, there seemed to be no end. He suddenly realized that he was actually underwater. The person who had built the stone room had gone to great lengths to bring the light from outside in, and this large piece of crystal was an extremely rare treasure. After a moment of contemplation, he inwardly sighed, oh dear, I seem to have ended up at the bottom of the sword lake. I've been fumbling around in the dark, not knowing how many turns I've taken. Now that I am deep underwater, there is no way out.